Hey guys, welcome to Barber Funk and Barbecue. I want to thank you for following me since 2007.
The ribs should be able to hold together so you can talk smack to someone, for instance, and not have the rib fall apart.
So I got a new video coming as inspiration from the last video where I tried ribs 4 ways. Now we're narrowing it down to 2. Smitty's versus Blacks. That's Lockhart, Texas. And there'll be some good tips on how to use that recipe function on your Pit Boss Pro series. But before we get started, how about a historical tour? Lockhart was voted from Texas Monthly the Texas barbecue epicenter. It's located about 20 minutes off of I-10. The first one of these joints is worth seeing is Smitty's, which was the old Kreitz. So the business is actually in the building of old Kreitz. And there was a family dispute over the building and the business that was solved in the court. And they had to actually take the coals out of the old Smitty's and bring it to the new place, which is called Kreitz. Thereby, Kreitz being the oldest at 123 years. What do you think?
It's delicious.
You haven't had any.
I did.
So yes, Kreitz is the oldest, even though it's in a newer building. Then there's Blacks. Blacks Barbecue. Not Terry Blacks, but the original Blacks. This has become my favorite, and it's weird because I stayed away from it for years. And here's an explanation of why. This is good.
Yes.
Daddy teach you how to eat, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I never thought I'd say this. But that rare rib is the best in Lockhart. And I have always avoided Blacks because they were the first people to come up with sauce. That damn rib, that's good. The brisket was real good too. This is all that's left of it. And then outside of the Holy Trinity of Texas barbecue, there's City Market of Luling. Not Luling City Market, which is in Houston. And this place was established in 1958, and it's easy to get to. Just off of Interstate 10. So it's a good little stopping point between San Antonio and Houston. But I will warn you, they're closed on Sundays. Trigger warning, if you have 5 kids like we do, you're going to have some explaining to do when they see the bathrooms. There's a lot of inappropriate graffiti. Something I'm sure Norma Jean at Blacks would not put up with. Oftentimes what we do is in our trips to the Hill Country or San Antonio and back to Houston, we'll just grab some barbecue to go and put it in the back of the car, and then we eat when we get home. It's a nice little treat. It actually feels pretty good. So you made it to part 3, how to cook in the Lockhart style on your pit at home. I am Pitmaster T. Thank you for tuning into my channel. That building you just saw was 123 years old, and those are the traditions that started Texas barbecue. It's good.
Yes.
Daddy teach you how to eat, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So in this video, I'm going to teach you why it's so important that if you're starting out as a pit master or revisiting your roots, you need to start with a Lockhart style. Basically, it's a 50-50 mix of kosher salt and black pepper, so the grains are similar. I've tried many different ways, but I always end up adding more pepper, so this is what I do. All I'm doing is I'm trimming off the brisket, and for those of you who've been tuning in since 2007, that's right, trimming it into a P.
Give me the P.
Pop Daddy. And so I sprinkle the stuff on. This is just salt and pepper on this particular rib on the front and the back. And so now for the one with the cayenne pepper, I've got maybe about a quarter extra cayenne pepper. It's just kind of amber looking. And since we are not wrapping this except to hold it, you see me, all I'm doing here is just trimming off the floating ribs. Make sure you take a good deep breath before you sprinkle, and also make sure you're not wrapping these ribs to cook. And so I'm throwing in the ribs, and we're doing an ultra slow 150 degree smoke.
All right, so here's
just to start. To increase and add another hour for smokiness at 200. And then I bumped it up to over 300 degrees. And I cook it there until I get an internal temperature of around 200, or they probe well. Now I don't spritz or add anything, and here I am checking once I'm getting close to an internal 200.
Pepper, in my opinion. salt, pepper, and red pepper. Cayenne. That ain't bad, and we get some rib pull on that. Oh yeah.
I know. I want to wrap them too, but we're not going to. We're going all the way.
All right, it's time to pull the
So now once you know that we're not going to wrap and cook these ribs, what else better is there to do than to wrap them? But I'm not wrapping to cook. I'm wrapping to hold. What I'm trying to do is simulate the Lockhart holding pits. And I can't do that in a breathing pit.
This rack of ribs. Ribs should be able to hold together. So you can talk smack to someone, for instance, and not have the rib fall apart. Okay, here we go. Meat slide down, anything inside of there.
As many of you know, I'll sprinkle some turbinado sugar on some of my ribs at this stage, but I'm not going to now. And it was a real hard thing to do because there's a slight sweetness to those Lockhart style ribs. Well, I found out, and I said later here, it's from the cayenne. It's the only thing I can explain, that sweetness. It's slightly sweeter than the one with salt and pepper.
Oh yeah. That.
Here's a tip I got from the legendary Billy Bones.
Now what I'm going to do...
So I've let all the heat out of the box. The ribs have cooled a bit since being pulled out and wrapped. And what I want to do is shock them once again at their prior temperature, or at least close to it. And then after a few minutes, just bump it back down to 150. And then I come back and I shut off the unit completely and just let the temperature ride down
and then shut it
while they're in the paper.
All right, we got 2 sets of ribs. I think this one was just salt and pepper, and this one was salt, pepper, and cayenne. Which one you want me to open up first? Salt, pepper, and cayenne. Okay. No, we'll just open this one first. Okay. Now, doesn't that smell familiar? Mm-hmm. It definitely smells familiar. Okay, this is the one that I thought would be too tough. And, of course, this one I cut like a pea. We're going to slice. And we forgot to show you, but this right here is the top side of the salt and pepper only. Okay, there's one rib. Okay, and I'll cut this one off right here. There it is. The John Fullilove, who passed in January of this year. Well, really, it's Smitty's, which adds to salt and pepper, a little cayenne. This one turned out, in my opinion, a little redder, and it looks like what I'm used to. This looks red like I remember, so it'll be interesting to see what it tastes like. Okay, so this right here is rub number 2. There we go. We're taking a look at the rib. We got a smoke ring that I could do better on, but we're looking for the flavor profile of the rub, which is just salt and pepper. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn close to one of the 3. Yeah. See it? Good smoke ring. Could do a little bit better, but you know, they have it on the pit a little bit longer resting, and I can adjust that, but once again, we're only going for flavor profile. This right here should be, if I haven't mixed them up, the rib with salt, pepper, and cayenne. There's no heat, is there? It disappears. Mm-hmm. But the sweetness is there. So the sweetness must come from the cayenne. Oh, there it goes. Wow. No wrapping except to hold. That's it.
This is your rub, baby. I like this one.
This beats...